Hey everyone, it's Stephen here from Marketplace Superheroes. As you might know, if you don't, hello. I'm here today with one of my friends and clients, Mr. Bryan Potter. Bryan, how you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing very well, Steven. Thanks for having me, man.
Sure. And you happy I used your full name, right? We don't have to bleep that out now.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks. Appreciate it.
We'll bleep it if we have to. All right, cool. But look, I'm delighted to be here. Like as I mentioned, you're obviously working with ourselves as a client at Marketplace Superheroes. And what I thought I'd do today is just bring you on and just sort of talk about your story, that journey of how you started, and how you got to where you are now. And we'll get to that in a second. So maybe let's start with, why did you get into this Amazon thing? What was the kind of lead up to that moment where you were like, this is the right thing for me? Let's talk about that first.
Yeah, so I've always been interested in trying to do supplemental income or passive incomes along with my full-time job. So I've started some other businesses in the past as well that were semi-passive, but a lot more hands-on than I wanted them to be. I started researching some other options, and selling on Amazon just kept coming up. And obviously, there's a bunch of different courses out there. Stumbled across Marketplace Superheroes, and one of the things that really intrigued me about Marketplace Superheroes was the way you guys broke down the numbers and really laid it out and said, listen, it's going to take some work, it's going to take some time, but if you follow the program and do A, B, and C, you're eventually going to get to X, Y, and Z. And that was what really turned me on with the program.
So so you had a little bit of experience before you came in. You started working with ourselves. So let's just talk about, like, the process of learning and going through the program. Like, how long did it take you to, say, get used to researching, for example, and then sort of find your first product? What did that whole journey look like?
So I joined Marketplace Superheroes the end of June, early July, and I had placed my first order for a product in early September. So it wasn't too terribly long. It was more kind of a proof of concept. I wanted to see if this was as easy as the videos made it seem.
Yeah.
Rolled it out, and it really was. I mean, they started selling. I had to replenish us several times at this point, and it really helped show that the business is passive. So.
Okay, cool. So, like, relatively quickly, of like going from never done this, figuring out the research process, placing your order, that was definitely quick. I mean, we're talking June, July, August, so maybe like less than 3 months of going from scratch to order. Some people do it even quicker, but I mean, I think that's a pretty good period of time, because some people would think, oh, I want to rush into an order, whereas, as you know yourself, when you're doing a private label order, you want to take your time a little bit. But did you find when you were placing the order that you had much kind of like, oh, is this going to work? Is this not going to work? How did you feel about that at that time?
So I'm somebody that very much struggles with paralysis by analysis. It took me some time, and I really had to take a step back and kind of go, what's the absolute worst case scenario? When I looked at the pricing of the product and everything like that, a couple weekends going out is basically what I spent on my product. So don't go out for a couple weekends, invest in this product and see what happens. So it took a little bit of time, but it wasn't horrible.
So you probably could have, in fact, found that product, have maybe placed the order, maybe even quicker, had you not had all this kind of paralysis by analysis going on. Would you say that's about right, or wrong?
No, that's absolutely right.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's good to know. A lot of people are going to be in that same situation. Most people don't pull the trigger, by the way, which is why obviously you got beyond. So now that you pulled the trigger on the first product, how quick did it take for that first item to start selling? Did it take like a month, a week? Like, what was the kind of time frame on that?
So it took a couple weeks to really start getting consistent sales. I mean, I would get one here and there, but after about, I would say 6 to 8 weeks is when I was selling, five-ish a day.
Yeah.
I just kept running out though, just because financially I was kind of constrained at that point, and the time it takes to get the product in took some time, but it sold well. Unfortunately, the market on that first product now is a little saturated. I don't know if I'll continue on with it, but it got me going in the right direction.
Yeah, but that's actually an interesting point. So when you started, like, would you say now your outlook on what makes like a good product, quote unquote, has changed from then to now? What was
Absolutely.
the differences would be in your own thinking?
So, I mean, when I first started, I was looking for something that, maybe had a page and a half of items that were maybe similar, but not necessarily the same, definitely not a clone market. Since then, if something has like half of a page of the same results, I get a little leery, just because I've seen kind of what that looks like and how quickly that market can change.
we obviously talk about items that are less than 30,000 BSR. Anyone in the program, you know what we're talking about, or if you've been watching the videos on the channel. So for you now, would you say like, you know, you would look at items that are maybe further out on BSRs, maybe further out than you used to? Has that changed for you, or what would you say to that?
It has, but the way I look at it is if it has a higher BSR, if the price is higher, I'm okay with it. I'm definitely more willing to take that chance than I am if it's a low priced item with a higher BSR.
Okay, so the types of items you have now, like I won't ask you too much on numbers or anything, although I know you shared a little bit of that in our group. But talking about your actual products, like how many items are you selling now, Bryan?
So I've got three SKUs. Two
Yep.
products are similar. One is basically like a travel size of the parent product, if you will. There's going to be color variations coming in as well. So I'm going to be doing some different color variations to help add to my SKUs.
Okay, cool. And you're like, how many individual like sales a day would you find you make on average? Would it be like 3 sales a day, 10 sales a day? What would your average look like right now?
So I'm between 15 and 20 sales a day, which has really surprised me. And it's also, I mean, it's interesting to see that happening. Having to place orders a lot sooner than what I would normally would. I just placed a very large order to help my expansion over to the UK.
Yeah.
Now it's just a waiting game until those products come in.
So most of those sales then are pretty much all .com at the moment. Then that'd be right.
Yep, that's accurate. I do have some stuff down in Australia, but I haven't had any sales there yet.
Yeah, it's early days. So again, like, I mean, conceivably then we could be moving to more like 30, 35 sales a day fairly quickly when you add in those other countries. So that's really good. And obviously, as you've been saying, and it's really great that you're transparent about it and all, is that one of your challenges has been, you know, capital, like, because as things start to become more successful, that can be good and bad, right? Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, one of my products is relatively expensive.
Yeah.
So when I place large orders, there's a lot of investment that goes into it. They're selling though, and they're selling very quickly. So I know I'm going to get that money back.
Yeah, and again, that's something that we're just to be very clear for everybody. That's something we do with some of our clients. We do help. If you've got an item that's doing really well and you need help with funding it and whatever, we do help with that. So that's something we're looking to do. With Bryan, we've been chatting about it for a while, but we actually have to get it done now. Because again, like the beautiful thing is you have got great proof of concept with three of your items now. One of them, as you mentioned, maybe like the market's not as good as it used to be. Fair enough. Probably down to as well the fact that your research, thinking has changed too. So you've moved out, which is very interesting. So would you say, like, out of the products you've done so far, have you brought in one that just did nothing, that just totally failed?
No.
Or yeah, that's good. Okay.
So I was worried about my first product. I mean, that's why I wanted to do a proof of concept, but it worked. And I mean, worst case scenario, I'll at least break even with it, but I'm still definitely turning a profit on it right now.
And so over the next year, you mentioned it in the group. Again, I'm not going to get into numbers too much for you, but you were mentioning that you're going to hit a landmark in this year of
Yeah.
doing what you can let people know, just so I'm not so saying you're going to hit a certain figure this year, like as in not five figures, but
Yeah, I'm hitting a six-figure mark this year, which is absolutely insane because it's less than 2 years that I've been doing this.
that's brilliant. And again, like I think for you, you could probably see yourself. I'll ask you the question. What would you say then if I said, okay, Bryan, uh, what have you got to do right now over the next 12 months to multiply the business? What would you tell me?
Oh, add product. I mean, that's definitely the easiest thing to do.
Yeah, and so when you're like I think as well another thing people would often think about marketplace is like, oh, there's a lot of time in researching and finding the items. What's your outlook on that?
I honestly don't spend a lot of time. So I'm somebody that upfront I'm paying some, like I automate my PPC and stuff like that because I can see where this is going to scale. So I'm trying to save some time in that regards. I mean, realistically, I maybe spend 2 hours a week and the majority of that is research. Once the product's going, it's just
Yeah.
making sure you don't get in the way of its success.
Yeah, so really the bulk of your time is spent finding products and finding the right products, and then really after that point, it's pretty a lot of it can be done for you. Well, obviously by Amazon, and as you're mentioning, you can outsource certain things like your PPC. And let's talk about PPC. How much of an impact would you say that's had on your sales?
Oh, huge. I mean, once I really understood PPC, and Keith Armstrong was a huge help with this, but once I really understood it, it helped really drive my sales. And yeah, you're paying for advertising, but if you manage it properly, it's going to help also grow your organic sales, which has been huge for me.
So would you say, like, when you bring in a product now, you can see like it'll kind of launch faster, it'll get traction a lot faster?
Yeah, and it's also helped me, like, now I know what keywords to look for and how to add that in. And with the system that I'm using now, like I said, I've automated a lot of that. It's really interesting because I can see the time of day and where like my ads are and what clicks they're getting. So that's been really interesting to see as well.
Well, that's great because again, it's I can see you definitely become one of our coaches in the future, and I think that'll be something great to bring that kind of PPC automation and like show what you're doing there to the PPC students. Because actually, funnily enough, at the time we're recording this, we're actually going to be opening up the PPC program pretty soon. So it's kind of timely that we're having this chat as well. I didn't realize that honestly before I came on. I didn't even know you were going to say what you just said. It's just funny that that's the way it is.
Yep.
So when it comes to the program, then like obviously you've had good success with it. Maybe just for anybody who's thinking like I'm considering joining Marketplace Superheroes. Are these guys scammers? Are they weirdos? What would be your opinion about Marketplace Superheroes? Anybody watching?
Well, I mean, I think you're kind of a weirdo, but in a good way. No, like it's great. The community is insanely positive, and I've met a lot of really, really great people through it. And I mean, obviously, you and I talk on a fairly regular basis, and that's been great. The access that we have to everyone in the group is really solid, and it's just
Yeah.
a very positive environment. So it's worth joining for sure.
That's great. Well, look, great to see you're doing so well. I mean, I can definitely see you very quickly multiplying that six figure up to the seven figure quickly. We'll certainly do everything we can to help you with that. I just really enjoyed chatting today, and I just thanks for coming on. And I just love seeing stuff like this, Brian. You know, it's great, and I know you're taking on other projects as well. So look forward to seeing them do well also. And I'm pretty sure in the not too distant future you'll be doing all of this full time. Hopefully you agree with that.
Definitely. I'm definitely looking forward to it. And I really appreciate it, Steven. Thanks again, man.